and we're getting a nice lens flare effect there. So we're going to use the position of those keyframes to also animate our dirt. So just select both the dirt solids, hit T for transparency, and give myself a little bit more real estate here. And I might just hit U on the flare to bring up those keyframes. So there we are there. And I'm going to create a keyframe for opacity, and I also need to turn them on so that they're visible. And what I'm going to do is try to ramp down the opacity until I'm happy with its transparency. So the large ones I'll do first. Something like that is good. About 20. Let's make it an even 20. And then the small, come in a little closer. The small ones we're going to ramp down to around about 30. Looks good. And then when we get into shot, or get the lens flare into shot, we're going to ramp those up until they're visible. We'll come out away from the lens flare a little bit. Something like this. So we're ramping it up. I think around about 80 should do. And we might try that with the large lens flare as well, the large dirt particles as well. Actually, they're fine at 100. And that looks like it's working fine. So there's just a very subtle amount of dirt before the lens flare kicks in. You can see it there. And then once the lens flare kicks in, we get a nice lens effect on the screen. Now, just with the lens flare, I might go for one of the other flare types. In fact, I think the 5300 zoom is going to work okay for our purposes. So let's give that a RAM preview and see what we have. So it's looking not too bad, but I think what I'd like to do is have the dirt actually start to get brighter as the camera comes across the scene. So if we just come back to this keyframe here, you'll see that the opacity is 30 and 20. So I'm going to go back to frame 0, and instead of 20, I might just click on a keyframe for 20 and 30 there, but when we get to here, I'm going to bring 20 up to, say, let's make it 45, and that's going to work nicely. So it starts out quite dark, it gets brighter and brighter, and then it ramps up to inevitably, I'll just hide